Hi everyone, this is Natasha, and we're here at home with Donna.
Hey everybody! It's been a while. I miss seeing everybody, so this is great.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. We're doing a little meet and greet today, so we're going to just wait for a little to see in the corner there if we've got some people watching. Oh, good, 2 people watching. So we're here at home with Donna. I know a lot of you have asked me how she's doing and have missed her hospitality and warmth at the shop. So I thought it'd be really great with the advent of all this technology to be able to bring all of you into her home and kind of give you a bit of an update as to what's going on in her life, some of the special projects that she's been working on. We're here at home in Big Rock, and we really appreciate, there's someone who says hi. Hi, Janet.
Hey, Janet.
We really appreciate all of your loving kindness and keeping Donna in mind. She's been busy here caregiving for family, and I'll have her talk a little bit about that. But as you all may or may not know, Donna's my mom. She and I have been in business together for the past 14 years, and definitely a big part of the shop. And it wasn't just until the last couple of years that she had to step back a little bit. Hey, Linda Gaelic, how are you?
Hey, Linda.
And so she's been here full-time caregiving and really stepped up to that role. And so she just hasn't been around the shop as much, unfortunately. So we wanted to give her a chance to say hello. So.
Well, great. Hi, everybody. I miss everyone, but, with technology and thanks to Facebook, a lot of you have been in touch with me. And, me, I can't stay idle even though I am homebound with my mom and Scott. Both have Alzheimer's and caregiving them full time. But I've got projects, me and my projects, so everyone laughs.
And she's
about
had
those.
projects before quarantine,
oh,
so,
yes. Yes,
and in fact, she
me.
always says, she being in caregiving here knows what it feels like all the time to be in quarantine.
Yeah, 6 years.
We'd love to hear a little bit about what some of your latest projects are, and then we also want to reach out to you. It's fun seeing your comments. So if you have any questions for Donna, or just want to say a hi or a hello. Earlier in the week, Robin Lavin said she'd bring out some Rubens for us when all this is over.
Yes.
And Lainey Frankel said hi, and that she misses you.
Oh.
Lainey was a Girl Scout in our Girl Scout troop, so it's been fun hearing comments. Tina from Rochelle says hi.
Good.
And, everybody's been enjoying checking in. So tell us about your first project. What's the first one you want to share?
Oh, well, it's outside, but you can look back through my Facebook. I wanted to beautify the outdoors, so thanks to Jody, she painted the propane tank with all kinds of birds and flowers. So
I can post a picture of that, or at the end I'll just go outside. Yeah. I'll give you a little view. We can look and see what the view is from our kitchen here at the farm, because it's really picturesque. So you
bird
can see
feeders.
that.
Last spring, I thought that would be, encouraging that either my mom or Scott would enjoy watching the birds.
What kind of birds have you seen?
I need to get my bird book, because this one intrigues me. It's like a bright blue, iridescent blue. But also the hummingbirds are coming, and we saw a pink one and an emerald green hummingbird.
Ooh.
And cardinals and blue jays.
Well, cardinals are very special, right?
Because my dad, that was always his bird. So yeah.
So we've got the outdoors you're beautifying.
And then I did a bunch of ceramic flowers. I knew I wouldn't be able to, because I've also become pretty handicapped with my injuries I've had. So stuff I don't have to water. I've done some ceramic flowers around. You can take a picture of one of those.
Yeah. Using like antique glassware and stuff like that and whatnot. So those are kind of cool. And then you've also had some friends divide plants and
right. I want to
thank
everyone that have gone through and given me samples or things out of their gardens, and now they're growing. Lori and Cindy and a few others have been contributing, and they seem to be thriving. And then we had a milkweed project. I haven't had a chance to get on the golf cart yet and go see it because the water, the ground's too soggy.
I think milkweed is just starting to come up. So
you'll have to keep me posted. Yeah, we had one of the universities.
Debbie Graham says hi to us.
Oh, hey, Deb.
And Louisa is watching.
Okay, hi, Louisa. Thanks.
And Lois is watching.
Oh, Lois, I love your post. You're so good at that and very encouraging. So, yeah. So one of the church, even before COVID started, God had spoken to me about getting back in touch with long lost relatives, and my dad died 6 years ago. So his side of the family, I knew a handful, but not many cousins. So I got on Facebook and found all the long lost cousins and thought it'd be fun to do a cookbook.
And just to give you perspective over quantity of cousins, my grandparents both, so my grandmother's living here at home. She's 95 and lost my grandpa 6 years ago. Each of them had 8 brothers and sisters, and so the magnitude of this large Slavic family is quite big between all the cousins and everything. And how many Olgas are there?
Well, we never lived nearby because my career took me out to California, so Natasha really never met anybody.
And most would be my great aunts and my great uncles, and then the cousins and everything else like that.
So there's like 4 Olgas, 2 on my dad's side, 2 on my mom's side. She could never keep track. I'd say Surges, Olgas.
How many Helens?
Oh, 3 Helens.
3 Helens. I mean,
So I decided
you need like a flow chart for all the people.
Well, hence the cookbook, and I really encourage a lot of you, if you'd like to take this on, maybe put it up closer. I had people just to make it easy. Years ago you'd have pictures and you'd have to mail them, but now we can scan them in. So each, my brother had actually done some research, so now Natasha doesn't have any excuse to figure out which Olga I'm talking about.
They got me a flow chart.
That was my mom's dad and mother when they were first married.
Moms or dads?
My dad's.
Oh.
Mom and dad.
So this would be my great-grandparents?
We call them Baba and Gigi because of the ethnic.
And where did they come from?
Well, out in Galicia, which was pre-Poland, and it was Sanok was the town. So I won't bore you with all the details, but I do want to show you a flow chart of why Natasha said sometimes she gets confused. And my brother went back to the 16th century. So it goes back quite a ways, and with Ancestry and all the church records, you can do that now. So we had a lot of fun, and I think the best blessing to it all was I had a few cousins that hadn't spoken to each other. Some brothers and sisters, for some reason, hadn't spoken, and a lot of the walls and barriers fell down, and
so it was a really good way for family to connect in the midst of COVID. When did you finish this project?
Easter. Yeah, so I was really determined, and thanks to our printer, Alpha Graphics, she took it under her wing and got it in time for Easter. So now the others.
What did you ask each family member? So if other people want to do this, how did you start the ball rolling for them?
I said, a picture of their parents, like say they were one of my cousins, my age. Maybe a wedding picture, a little story about the parents, if the husband had been in the war.
So is there a bio we can read about my grandparents in there?
We just did pictures.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't actually write a bio for them. But
do you have a wedding picture of Baba and Gigi?
Yeah, my dad was kind of in the middle. That's why I'm just kind of fumbling here to find out. And recipes were fun. They ranged from the really ethnic to, I have a cousin who doesn't cook, so she took a picture of the back of Mrs. T's
pierogies.
Pierogi recipe.
So, and my thing, hey Yvonne, how are you?
Hi Yvonne.
Neighbor Yvonne. We know a couple of Yvonnes. So the recipes, we have many versions of Baba's bread, which I had to laugh about because my grandmother makes bread, but everybody else's grandmother also makes bread, and they're all a little different, the recipes. So
which we've had at open houses before, if you remember them.
Yes, all of you probably remember the bread. So here's a picture, a wedding picture of my grandparents. When were they married? 1946, I think it says.
Yeah, just shy of 65 years before they passed. But
and then when do you think this picture was from? This is probably 20 years ago, 30 years ago or so.
California.
Yeah. So beautiful couple. What's one of their recipes in here?
Oh, the scones. If you came out to the shop and had the scones, that my mom did scones. So
yeah, does anybody remember those cranberry scones? I remember the days when somebody would come in and you'd be like, wait a minute, I'm going to make some scones really quick. And it was like magic. They would just appear and they were so easy to do. You just mix them up. I'll have to share the recipe. Yeah, I'll share that recipe.
And pumpkin soup with dumplings. I think one open house or one cold day we had our dumpling pumpkin soup. So.
Yeah, pumpkin soup and dumplings.
So
and
it was a fun project. You know, it just kept it simple and lighthearted and people enjoy doing it. So. That's one project out of the way. And
Lois says that she remembers making the bread with you.
Oh, yes. Remember that. Yeah.
When we make bread, we don't just make bread. We make bread. We make like 30 loaves of bread. So
big Tupperware container.
Yeah, big tub.
Yeah, we're tired of the bread machine. We never have done one loaf at a time.
I don't think I've ever made a single loaf of bread.
Just the way we are.
Oh, Linda Neff says she loves the scones.
Oh, yeah. We'll have to send out that recipe.
I remember when my grandma lived in California, she would buy the cranberries and mail them to us for the scones. I mean, we could buy cranberries ourselves, but it was always fun to find the package. Yeah, that was her love language, was sending packages to us filled with little trinkets.
So I don't know if it's COVID or just getting older, but I'm getting sentimental about capturing pictures and memories. So when Natasha's art piece got into the show in Verona and we went to Italy, all those pictures were still on a disc somewhere or a camera somewhere. We never did a photo album. So
this was actually about, 2011 or so?
Yeah.
I had a piece of art that was selected to go to Italy, and that was for a show in Verona. And we were able to actually go over and have a really nice trip together.
Considering what's happening now, it was really a blessing because, traveling is always going to be in a question mark now. And I'm not able to walk as well as I could have then.
And Italy has always held a special place in Donna's heart because I remember growing up hearing stories of when she lived in Italy. Yeah. My dad and her honeymooned in Italy. She knows a tiny bit of Italian, and so where is Italy?
I lived there for 2 years. Taught for Marymount schools in the late 70s. A little bit more than a little Italian, but
I was trying to think of how to say that in Italian.
Oh, I say abbastanza bene, which means adequately. The grammar may not be right. Once I went to the market and paid $50 for a head of lettuce. The man just kept saying 10.000 lire, and I kept giving the lire, and that's pre-euro dollars. And then I realized when I went home, so I went back and I said, I'm not just one of those American tourists. I live here. And
what was that shirt that you had?
Oh yeah, sono turista, abito qui, I'm not a tourist, I live here. And so he said, okay, I'll tell you when we are even. So I basically had, produce for a week until my $50 head of lettuce.
Huh? Yeah. Well, when we were there, we got to see these markets, and I don't think the markets have changed very much over the years. There's still open air markets, and a lot of the produce that's grown in the southern part of Italy, of course, is distributed throughout the country, and so you see, Sicilian tomatoes and oranges and things like that. Blood oranges, yeah.
The only thing is, when I was there, it was very tumultuous terrorist times. It was when the Red Brigade had kidnapped.
In what time frame?
79,
okay.
Yeah, 77 to 79. And so I was warning Natasha when we get there, there's going to be police with Uzi guns, and we're going to be searched, and we're going to have our passports. Like I remembered, and it was very liberal. There was just almost too lax. I think they didn't even check us at the terminal at the airport. But
let's just say times have changed.
Times
right?
changed, yeah. But we enjoyed it. And hopefully want to go back. And so behind me, if you notice, it looks like we're living in Italy.
Here, I'll give you a little bit of a view here.
This is before COVID. I wanted to, it's kind of a practical thing. We have a little sunroom and it's not insulated. So in winter, it was very cold. So I kind of blocked it off with this Italian backdrop. And so it was great up until COVID. And then it became an ongoing, every day I looked and prayed and felt so sorry for what that country is going through now. It's different feel when I
you
look
look
at that
at
backdrop.
it not as a tourist, but actually knowing the heart of Italians and what they're going through.
But resourceful. I love that one video that you posted that they had these like
they're still Italian in the midst of it.
They had a glass of wine with telescopic sticks they could toast across the
balconies
alley.
of their house. Yep.
They'll figure a way. So
I think that's one of the most wonderful things about, no matter what country, what nationality that people are, they still have the same emotions, and we've learned that with COVID, that we really hunger after real people relationships and seeing people face to face, and how important that is in our lives. And Esther's place, how much we've missed that, just being able to sit down and craft over a cup of tea. And that's coming soon. We're going to be announcing how and when we're going to be opening, keeping everyone's safety and everything in mind. But so let's get back to Italy a little bit more. I wish we had like a afternoon dolce snack,
glass of wine.
A glass of wine, hey, that sounds
the above. But well, I did, live there for 2 years, but then.
And what did you do when you were living there?
I was teaching math and science at Marymount schools, Loyola School. So there were nuns, and I was in my early 20s.
She was a wild thing.
Yeah, I had like this yellow corduroy pantsuit, and I was always wearing snazzy clothes.
A wild American at the nuns school.
The nuns were very, very, very kind, and they tolerated me because I was a good teacher.
Yeah.
Had a lot of embassy kids. I had the Shah of Iran's daughter, and she airlifted dates from their oasis one day. Daddy sent fresh dates because we were talking about oases. So it was really an interesting time, but I had to move on. I realized, I was in between undergraduate and graduate, and it helped firm up my whole career aspiration, because that was when Italy was so polluted. They had wrapped many of the monuments up so that the cars wouldn't destroy the marble. And the rivers were different colors depending on the industry that was polluting it. So
it became very real to see the environmental impact.
Without EPA, without protecting the environment, what could happen. So I actually applied to grad school, environmental planning at the University of Pennsylvania in Rome. That was a challenge, trying to take your grad school, there was a room at the YMCA, and every Italian, all males, taking this grad test. It's equivalent to the SAT for grad school, and they would come and run up to my desk and check what answer I'd done, and they'd go back and fill in the same answer. And I'm thinking, either the whole room does really well, or we all bomb. But
I'm surprised she didn't use her power to slip some wrong answers in there.
Yeah, the proctor just ignored. He was reading his paper, and they all went, "Oh, numero due, A," and they'd all run back.
Well, you think about nowadays with kids and phones and cheating and things like that. I guess nothing has changed there.
I don't know what happened to them, but I did get in. But before I went back, I wanted to go visit. This is about when Roots was popular. People were getting into their roots, and I wanted to go back to see where your grandmother had been born on my mother's side, her other Baba, and Maria Duback came over when she was 17, but she used to raise sheep. So, it's really a God thing when we have a sheep farm, because here I'm following in my mother's footsteps. So, dead of winter, I got on a Russian plane, Aeroplot, with an Italian-Polish dictionary, because the Pope had just been elected. So I'm looking up an Italian word.
And he was a Polish Pope,
He was the Pape Polacca. Okay. Yeah, we watched the smoke change. We were at the Vatican with the kids. Yeah. And so we ended up translating and pointing words here and there, and
before the days of Google Translate.
Oh yeah, there were no cell phones, and I thought I was going to get stranded and die in some snowstorm, because I land in the dead of winter in Warsaw, and take a train from Warsaw all the way to the eastern part of Poland, which was almost East Germany, and didn't realize all the politics that was going on. Huh?
A little
louder. Hopefully everybody hears me. Didn't realize the politics, didn't know where I was going. The snows were so bad they backed the train up and would pound it through the snow banks, and had passengers come and shovel us through. And when I finally got to the train, my relatives didn't pick me up because they pictured I was the American with beautiful furs and diamonds, and I had an Eddie Bauer coat and a knit hat, and I looked like a college student, right? But they eventually figured, when nobody else picked me up.
They came back to the station and claimed the orphan that was left there.
And the first thing they did was take me to the market and buy me a white fox hat and dress me up. So
is this like kind of Dr. Zhivago? I'm kind of picturing a little bit, you know.
Yeah. But it was tough times. There were food lines. I wanted to make pasta carbonara, and I went there and I said, you know, when you're visiting relatives, you know how they won't let you pay for anything. But I thought I would because I knew times were a little tough for them. And I bought a pound of butter and bacon and heavy cream. And they're gulping hard. And everybody's looking through the window like, wow, who is this lady that can buy these things? And I get home and through translation later found out that was a month's salary for that one meal. And I kept saying, you like it? Good? And they're going, mm-hmm.
Isn't that interesting, the cultural difference between you living in Italy?
Oh, yeah, food was plentiful.
You know, was that Poland then at that point?
It was Poland, Lublin, Poland, yeah. Mm-hmm. And so my grandmother, when she left, didn't have her two youngest sisters born. They were born after, so I went to see them. They were still alive. They were in their late 80s, and I went to the farmhouse where I thought was my grandmother and where she had been born. So for all these years, 41 years later, if you look on my Facebook page, I had a shirt that my cousin had made me and I put it on. It sort of fit. 41 years later. I was only like, 20-something when she gave it to me. Mm-hmm. So I found out just recently in the last 6 months that wasn't the house where she was born. That in 1947, it was called Vistula. The Polish government took all those farmers and shepherds down in the Carpathian Mountains, threw them into train cars, and just relocated them. They called it ethnic cleansing. They were afraid they were a threat to the government, and they
were a very independent people group.
Yeah, they're called Lemko.
Lemko is the nationality. And so and after all these years, we've actually just found this out because when we talk to people of Slavic descent, nothing ever checks out. You know, the Polacks are like, no.
We say halupki, they
say golumpki. And people say, oh, your name is Natasha, and you must be Russian. And then they're like, no, you're not Russian. And then even the Ukrainian traditions, you know, a lot of Ukrainians were Catholic, and then they practiced Russian Orthodox. So it was all very confusing. And, you know, in America, we're used to just this melting pot. But in Europe, you know, things were very distinctive. And so we finally found out that there was this people group that was a nation for only 2 years.
Yeah. They were allowed to be a nation 1917 to 1919.
And we changed this on the cookbook, Kiss Me, I'm Lemko. And so we've been learning about the heritage and the history, and that's been kind of, you know, really enjoyable to trace back the roots a little bit and understand.
Now I'm on a roll. Where is that farmhouse, and what did it look like? It's not the one I went to, because really they opened up the train cars and they just threw them into the field, and that was a German farmhouse where horses were left. The troops had left horses, and they made good. And I have one second cousin who's still living, Ola, who's 80, that has given me the story because she was 8 years old. So and what I realized, you know, my mom's Alzheimer's and her memory is short. My mom and her sister are the only two left. And if you don't capture, so I guess that's my other message. If you're younger, try and talk to your older relatives and get these stories, because when they're gone, they're gone. So
and it's unique to have, you know, actually relatives you can talk to that did come from an old country and have these stories and recollection, and you know.
Yeah, there's a few left in Poland through my cousin that we're still in touch, and then we found out there's a Lemko group. So now I'm so excited because people are searching around. Most of those homes have been destroyed either by the troops that, you know, disposed.
They were in between a crossfire of cultures, it sounds like.
But there's a few left, so I keep getting posts from this Lemko group of maybe the house looks like this, maybe the house looks like that.
Is this a Facebook group?
Yeah, yeah. It's called Lemko Rush.
So isn't it wonderful that, you know, in spite of either being shut in or caregiving, or in spite of a stay-at-home order and COVID, we can still stay really connected to one another, still feel like there's some interaction and everything like that.
It's been fun. Mm-hmm. So stay tuned for the last project. I'll get off this subject, but our old chicken coop, I don't know if you remember, was kind of in disrepair, and thanks to Jonathan.
Well, actually, I was going to say this morning I told the story of Maud, and I talked about how it had fallen into some disrepair, and Maud's story of Maud the chicken. So what are we doing with the chicken coop?
Well, thanks to Jonathan, he got, a nice roof covering on, and I'd like to recreate it so it looks like Baba's mother's house. It's house number 1, 2, and one of these posts that was answered ends up being a long-lost cousin that I didn't know came over, and her dad drew this right before they were deported, the Florenca town map, and my grandmother's house would have been on number 12.
Number 12, and okay.
His dad lived in the same town, which was a cousin of my grandmother, and their house looked like that. So I'm trying to figure out if I can find shingles and siding, at least one side, to try and create it and paint ethnic drawings like they used to on the houses.
Oh, cool.
They used to have a tree they'd paint, and they would always leave it so that as a new birth happened, they'd add another branch.
Yeah. So a literal family tree.
Yeah,
like,
on the house.
On the house. And then the shingles were wood shingles, from what we're learning. They were a special
either
technique.
Thatched or wood. You could hand make. So the word's out if anybody makes shingles or knows of anybody that wants to.
Well, Robin Dempsey said her family was actually wooden shingle makers, but
that's pretty cool.
That was several generations removed.
So anyway, that keeps me out of trouble, so to speak, or keeps me active because, sometimes it gets a little old watching all those Hallmark movies.
Well, I know you all might have some questions for us.
I'm rambling on, I always do.
Well, in this dynamic duo, I am the realist and the grounded one, and she's the dreamer. And so that was a pretty good pair when we first started the business. Esther's Place, we started it when I was 18. It was a dream that I had. Hey, Teresa. And Julie is listening from up in Wisconsin.
Oh, okay.
Julie Shaler. So when we first started Esther's Place, I really had a passion for sharing the fiber arts with people. That was my dream, and so my mom kind of encouraged me and came alongside. And as you can see from all of this interaction, she gets very passionate about projects. And so, oh hey, Amber's listening.
Oh, good. Thanks.
And so she, really stepped up to help me to find tools and connect me with the ways to make Esther's Place happen. And so, she's really a key part of all of that happening. So now we've been in business for 14 years. 2006 was when we first opened. So it's been 14 years. It's really hard to believe. And so, are there any questions that you have for us? We would love to hear. I know we've, known a lot of people and touched a lot of people's lives, and we just really think it's wonderful to be a part of your life. We feel very blessed to know all of you. But are there any questions that you have for us? I'm working on uploading all of our different videos that we've done today, and I did talk in the farm video a little bit about how we got started with our sheep and all of that. But I don't know if people know kind of your background academically and in the corporate world. I don't know if you want to talk about that for a few minutes.
I know, because
she's
people
got
see me
a wide
in a
variety of skills and talents here.
Well, I went to Duke undergrad at a very young age. Actually finished high school very early and zipped through to save my parents' money. So I did Duke in 2 years and finished at 18 with a botany degree. My dad would say, "Are you going to college or camp?" Because I had horseback riding, canoe, tree watching, bird watching. So, I guess I was kind of the wild and crazy dreamer even back then. But, you wake up, graduated at 18, and with a botany degree, what do you do? So that's how I ended up in Italy and kind of followed a boyfriend and stayed a few years and then got a little grounded, went to University of Pennsylvania for environmental planning, then got recruited out to LA to work for Atlantic Richfield, which is pre-BP. right when Valdez hit, and I was an oil spill cleanup manager for BP quite a few years, and then became
regulatory compliance
specialist.
Yeah.
And I would.
She always told me growing up that she never liked to pleasure read because she had to read so many regulations.
Yeah, that's true to this day. Yeah.
And even her perspective is so much more scientific than mine. I remember one time we were driving through a construction zone, and the way that the dust was being thrown into the air was so beautiful. It was just the light was hitting these, little particles, and it just was so pretty. And I said, "Oh, this looks like heaven. It's so beautiful."
And all the different shades, and I'm giving an analytical, scientific reason of why the
She tells
light
me, well, that carcinogenic
off,
material, particulate matter in the air is probably not really that beautiful. So she's always had, kind of a little different perspective or point of view to bring to the table than mine. So I guess in some ways, it complements each other.
And people assume because I'm older, you must have taken after me or learned all your artistic skills, but no.
Oh, yes, that is a question we get a lot from people. So, did your mother teach you how to spin yarn?
You know me, we're still trying to figure out what my talent is.
Gift of gab.
Gift of gab.
That's what you would
projects.
always say. Yeah.
Big idea book. Remember, I always said
you're really good at starting projects.
Don't always finish them, I know, but there's lots of reasons for that.
So I remember, trying to teach my mom to spin, and I sent her out for a demonstration with a group of kids one year for King County Ag Days, and the child asked why her sweater was caught in the yarn that she was spinning.
Or I was spinning, and they go, "It looks more like rope than yarn." I'm like, "Oh boy."
Yeah, that's okay.
Well, I can appreciate people that have talent.
Well, and I think one really funny story, she would only knit on the plane as a stress reliever, because not the most...
I didn't like flying back then.
Yeah, needed a nice little distraction, right? Oh, Don Thomas is listening.
Oh, okay.
So she would knit, and she would always ask me to get a project ready for her. And so she had these 3 yarns that were all strung together, 3 separate yarns.
Couldn't just take a simple project, right?
Yeah, and so the weight equivalent of these 3 yarns was like a super chunky. And then like size 13 needle. So already it was way too tight a needle, way too thick a yarn. So she's knitting armor, basically, and...
so it'd go fast and get finished.
Yeah.
That was my motive.
So she's sitting next to this guy who's rather large in the plane.
Should've bought 2 tickets, probably. If you catch my drift. His thigh was in my chair almost, and the ball rolls into his lap, so to speak, like right in the very, private spot. And he's asleep. So now I'm trying to figure out, do I pull and try and like yank it so it goes over his thigh, or do I just go down and grab it and then he wakes up, I was in a very bad spot. He finally woke up and handed it back to me, so
after that, we don't send yarn on the plane with her anymore.
And I enjoy flying. I got over that. I don't mind.
Yeah. Oh, Kathy Edwards is watching.
Hi, Kathy.
So we've had some fun stories and fun times, our adventures and shows and travels and, just all the different things that we've done throughout the years. We got to meet the Secretary of Agriculture in D.C., which was very exciting at a conference that we spoke at. Esther's Place was partially funded due to a USDA rural development grant.
That's why we went
and
back.
So that's why we went to D.C. I think that was like 2009 or so to speak at a conference as a woman-owned business and an agricultural value-added producer business.
Quick aside story, just to show the difference in our personalities. In the Secretary of Agriculture's office, he asked, how did you get into, shepherding? And I tend to ramble when I get nervous, rather than just succinct with my thoughts. I just started talking and talking. And he is like nervous because he's got another appointment, I
have a meeting with the president in 10 minutes.
And I'm like, no. And what was your comment? Because I'm rambling aimlessly, and then you what did you say? He goes, well, we need to go now. And you go, excuse me, sir. But no, we haven't finished. We need to tell you. And you basically sat him back down to finish our conversation.
Probably have 4-H public speaking to thank for that. I remember many, many years of having to do presentations. And
at the partners meeting, it was a rather kind of a touchy political situation there with the minorities. And I stood in front.
The conference that we were speaking at was inviting minority farmers, of which women and racial and ethnic minorities were all a part of. And so, yes, there definitely was some dissension amongst the groups as to what is a minority.
Right.
And
everybody had their feel for who should have been there. So I knew the tension. And I stood up and I introduced ourselves and I said, and we were going to team tag. We had discussed
how we were doing this presentation. And so, I was taking this part, she was taking that part. She stands up
and I said, hi, my name's Donna and my daughter Natasha will tell you the story. And I sat down. She looked at me like, you were supposed to do the first half of the presentation. I froze. So I deferred to her. So as you can see, she's blossomed into quite the young entrepreneur woman and artist, and I'm very proud of you.
Aw, shucks.
Aw, shucks. Come on, questions. They're talking too much.
Well, Kathy says hi to both of us. Hi, Donna and family.
Thanks.
I wish we could get Baba on, but I didn't know if she'd feel up to
today,
it.
Yeah, not today.
But her favorite candy in the world is Werther's Originals. So these days, if anybody ever wants to drop off a donation of Werther's Originals to Baba on the doorstep, she probably single-handedly is keeping that company in business. She loves the Werther's Originals. And at her age,
I'm not going to stop her.
What can you do? You do? But
2 life lessons I want to share, though, with just talking and reminiscing. And having Scott, my husband, diagnosed early with Alzheimer's.
I don't know if we really haven't shared a lot about that publicly.
Yeah, it was mid-50s when he was actually diagnosed. Actually misdiagnosed at first. We have a PBS. It's actually on Netflix now called Too Soon to Forget, documentary that we're in.
Well, let's back up just 1 minute here. Yeah. So we started noticing some signs, of forgetfulness and anger, some issues with, job dependability, and it was around that time that we started doing more inquiries as to my dad's, issues, why this wasn't lining up, and this was about 6 years ago. And in doing this, found out that he had early onset Alzheimer's, which is actually a different type of Alzheimer's than the kind that you usually get as an older adult. It can start as early as 35 and is usually a more progressive, aggressive,
maybe 10-year life
form.
Expectancy.
So it really does kind of go a little bit faster than the other Alzheimer's. So he was diagnosed with that. And we've just, watched him lose motor skills and abilities,
Speech,
slowly over time now. So we're happy to keep him here at home and, be able to care for him and to love him the best we can as he goes through this. But you found a very valuable resource.
Yeah. And
the group
is Without Warning. It's a Rush Hospital support group. So same way, if you have, a friend saying, my husband just doesn't, or wife is just too young and can't be Alzheimer's, but acts a little odd. It's a really good group. Nurses staff it. And
that was really helpful early on in the diagnosis stage.
Because you have a group of people all going through it and understand.
And they divide the group into stages. So you can be with people that are going through the same, things that you're experiencing. And you can also talk with people who are at the next stage to know, what they're going through. So this group actually produced a film called Too Soon to Forget.
And it's on Netflix now, and we're in it. It's when Scott could still speak, and we're on the farm.
He's out on the farm, out with the sheep and everything like that. Yeah. So, it's just a special memoir, kind of a docudrama that
raise awareness, both in the medical profession, because he was misdiagnosed, sleep apnea and depression for years before. So, but anyway, to learn life lesson from that, 2 life lessons for me, and then I'll stop rambling. Front load life is what I call it. Yeah, don't wait till you're going to retire and save up and take that special trip. If there's any way you could do things that you hoped and wished you could do.
Well, I think even COVID has taught us a lot about that. You know, we so fondly remember, like, oh, why didn't we go places when we had the opportunity?
Yeah.
Why didn't we, you know, go do and interact,
take
and
an afternoon off, and do this rather than work. And so jump on the cloud, go for the ride, and enjoy your family and friends every moment, because you're never sure what's next.
Yeah, so. And have that community. It's so important to have a community of people, and we feel like that's what Esther's Place really is. And I know how much we've missed that. We've stayed connected via technology and things like that, but there's just no substitute for real live FaceTime, right? And that
hug,
community.
I remember, because the Slavic, we hug a lot, and I have to be cautious because sometimes some people maybe a hug, and I've had a few people go, why didn't you give me the hug? So we'll get hugging again, right? Back to normal.
Yeah, we will, be stronger for all of this that we go through. I think the Bible always talks about, the lessons that we learn from the trials that we endure, big or small. And hopefully on the other side of all of this, Esther's Place will still be that wonderful, welcoming community, a safe place where you can be creative and where you can meet new friends and share in life's, ups and downs and laugh a little. We really look forward to that. So this has been just such a fun time with all of you for our virtual open house. We've really enjoyed kind of taking a little bit of a closer look into what we do. And we miss all of you. It's certainly different than we've ever experienced an open house, but I love interacting with you and seeing everyone and saying hi, and Renee Harris says hi, and Barbara Deich says hi. So it's been really fun. So thank you all for stopping in, and we will have all of the footage from our fun day today up on our website. I'm actually working on creating a special page called Virtual Open House 2020. I don't know. How do we say that? 2020. This year's going to have some 2020 hindsight, I tell you.
In infamy, right?
Definitely. Yeah. So drop a comment, drop a hello. We will keep responding to you. And we just love you all. I hope you stay well, and we will see you soon. We will be announcing how and when we're opening very shortly. So thank you all. Have a great rest of your Memorial Day weekend.
Thanks for checking in. Hugs over the internet.
Air hug. Bye.
Bye.